Welcome to a deep dive. We've got a stack of material you sent us, and we're going to focus specifically on the latest developments around potential peace talks, Russia and Ukraine.
Right. And this material, it really gives us a snapshot, doesn't it, of the stated positions, the efforts being made, especially focusing on Russia's conditions and this idea of a ceasefire memorandum that's popped up.
Exactly. Our mission here is to unpack these sources, pull out the crucial bits so you can quickly get a handle on what's actually being discussed. So let's dive in. Based on these documents you shared, what are the core demands? What's Russia putting on the table for a peace deal?
Well, according to this material, President Putin has outlined several key things. A big one is formal written guarantees, specifically to stop NATO expanding eastwards.
Okay, stopping NATO expansion. That's been a consistent theme.
Yes, and the sources explicitly mention keeping countries like Ukraine and Georgia, too, out of the alliance permanently. Then there's the economic angle they want, a partial lifting of Western sanctions.
Partial lifting. Interesting.
And also some kind of resolution about those frozen Russian assets held abroad.
Got it. So, NATO, sanctions, assets. What about Ukraine itself? What conditions apply directly to them in these documents?
The material's pretty clear here. Russia insists Ukraine must completely abandon any idea of joining NATO, just drop it, and commit to being neutral, outside military blocs.
Neutral status. Okay. Anything else regarding Ukraine?
Yes, there's also a demand, quite strong it seems, for guarantees. Guarantees protecting Russian-speaking people inside Ukraine.
Right. Now, this is where I think it gets really interesting. Sources mention this ceasefire memorandum. How did that come about? What's the latest on that, according to this info?
Sure. So the document suggests that after talks in Istanbul, this was mid-May, both sides kind of agreed it would be useful to put their positions down in writing.
Okay, formalizing things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And President Putin apparently confirmed Moscow was working on their version. This was after a call with U.S. President Trump, the sources say. And as of late May, statements cited from the Russian Foreign Ministry suggest their document, their memorandum, is almost ready. It's meant to lay out their plan for ending the fighting, maybe even with timelines.
But reading through this material, it seems Ukraine has some worries about this.
Yes, that's definitely highlighted. Reports mentioned from the Ukrainian presidential office show, well, apprehension, fears that the memorandum might include terms they just can't accept.
Terms impacting their sovereignty, perhaps.
That seems to be the core fear, yes. Potential impacts on sovereignty and territorial integrity. And that brings up a really important question these sources touch on. Leverage. What leverage does Russia feel it actually has here?
The documents paint a picture from Moscow's side, suggesting they're willing to keep the war going, for years even, if their main conditions aren't met.
A long conflict.
Yeah, and there's even a quote cited, reportedly from Putin, hinting that waiting will just make peace terms worse. Like, tomorrow will be even more painful if there's no deal soon, implying pressure builds over time.
What's also fascinating, though, is the counter-narrative mentioned in the material, coming from Kyiv and also some European capitals.
What are they saying?
They reportedly suspect Moscow might be using these talks, or the appearance of talks, as a kind of smokescreen.
The cover.
Yeah, a cover for ongoing military pushes, trying to gain more ground in eastern Ukraine while talks are supposedly happening, adds a layer of deep mistrust, reflected in these sources.
And the U.S. position, President Trump's involvement is mentioned.
Yes, the material indicates President Trump supports the idea of peace talks, generally, but it also notes he's hinted at potentially tougher sanctions.
Oh, okay.
Tougher sanctions on Russia if they don't seem to be negotiating seriously or genuinely working towards ending the conflict.
It's definitely a complex picture emerging from this material you sent. You've got these firm demands, real fears about sovereignty, and a significant lack of trust all around.
So wrapping this up for you listening, what does digging into these specifics really mean? Well, by understanding these stated positions, the actual demands, the documented efforts, like this memorandum, you can sort of cut through the general noise.
Right.
You see the precise points where they disagree, the gap between what one side wants and what the other fears, all coming directly from the sources provided.
Absolutely. And it leaves you, I think, with a really powerful question to mull over, based purely on this material. Given these very specific, almost non-negotiable points from Russia set against Ukraine's fundamental fears about its own future and security, how likely is it that a document like this memorandum, as described here, could actually bridge that gap? Or does its existence right now tell us more about strategic maneuvering than a real path to peace anytime soon? Something for you to think about.